All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful day. I got another watch list for you, and United Airlines may have just saved the stock market. They had earnings after hours. They absolutely killed it, and they guided up on the year almost double what any analyst was expecting. But why I'm saying they saved the stock market was simply because this is another good sign for soft landing. People are loving it, and we are actually not getting an earnings surprise to the downside. So even though it's good for now, we still have two big events tonight and tomorrow morning that may change anything. And hate to burst your bubble, but you also have the rest of earnings season. So Chad, we have a lot to go over. There's a bunch of different plays. I actually made a play on UAL and AAL, and we're going to go over those. But before I get into any of that, I got to give you another pretty picture. I didn't have this one yesterday, but everybody's been saying this generational rally, the biggest global equity rise since 1988. A lot of people were bullish over the weekend, but this morning you had Morgan Stanley's Michael Wilson. He gave another warning about earnings, and now some of the narrative is kind of changing. So we're not out of the woods just yet, and I have an update for you. But what I want you to see with this chart, it is referencing the VIX, and essentially anytime the VIX has dropped below 18, which we saw happen on Friday, it climbed up a little higher today, but overall, every single time the VIX has dropped below 18, you have watched every single rally fade out over the last year. So same thing happened in January, same thing happened in March, April, same thing happened in August, and then November, and then now we will see what happens. So that's the first one. And then the next one, this one's all for the bears here. I gave you guys the bullish ones yesterday, but simply the put-to-call ratio, or excuse me, not the put-to-call ratio, the ratio of put-to-call open interest, it is now hitting 2. So even though the market's been going up, you actually have more puts being held open interest since about August. So Chad, we're going to see what happens. That's why these earnings are so important. Again, United Airlines, they came in about, I think they said their guidance was going to be 50 cents to $1 for next quarter, and everybody was expecting 22 cents. And it seems like that lower energy ended up helping them out. So Chad, we got a lot to go over. I got the plays, the keys, everything. And tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, you are going to get a big update out of Japan. So let's see what happens, but run it, baby.
Working to the couch, it's the 2020 legs. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then it feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
But right off that bat, before we get into the keys, it looks like the futures are already declining, and that's what I mean with this Japan event. All throughout the night, you are probably going to watch the futures move a lot. And then tomorrow morning, that's when we get the data. But hey, let's just get right into it. Tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, the Bank of Japan is going to have a meeting. So literally, this is the Powell of Japan. You know, they have the Fed meetings. We have them here, and we get all excited. It's the same thing with Japan, and there is a lot riding on it on whether or not they're going to abandon yield curve control or not. Or last time, like they did in December 20th, or on December 20th, they decided to raise the band that the rates could trade at. So even if you look right now in Japan, the interest rate is higher than the 0.5 band that they even set last time. And this is why there is a lot riding on the table. And it's quite simple. Whatever happens tonight, it has the potential to move the dollar by maybe 1 or 2%, simply because it is going to move the Japanese yen a lot. So actually, let me jump back to another pretty picture. We talked about this today. The implied volatility on the Japanese yen for one day is actually reaching one of the highest points it's ever hit. Again, around 2016 is when they first introduced everything, but this even makes 2008 and all of that look like baby food. And even for the rest of the month, it is pricing in about 17% volatility. That is a ton for a global currency. So keep that in mind. That's what we're going to be watching for, and that will be the biggest factor. So no matter what happens with these earnings and everything else, this one, I don't have the watch list because I don't know what happens yet for it. I might go live, but either way, how this plays out and how it leads into the morning, this is probably going to be your number one story. And then on top of it now, PPI is going to be coming out 1 hour before the market. That will be the other market driver for tomorrow, maybe the rest of the week, but we still have those earnings. And now why PPI is going to be so important tomorrow, it is the producer pricing index, and it's important because it factors into core much more than any of the other data that we get. So you get consumer sentiment, you get Empire Fed, which was awful today. You get all these different things, but PPI has a very high correlation between core CPI and, well, inflation, the trend, where it's going, what it means for the Fed. All of that is very, very important. So we're going to see, but other than that, we'll see if we get any other data. But really, all eyes on Japan tonight, how that plays into the morning, and then what do we get with this PPI, and then now the rest of the follow-up from earnings. So that is your second key now. And actually, if you like something so far, if you learned something, and you just vibe with the cult, baby, make sure you hit that thumbs up, and if you subscribe, it helps out. Remember, it's all free 99, and we are even live, youtube.com/the stock market, but I'm glad you're still here. But the second key, UAL earnings. They had a great after-hours report. Believe me, I don't like it because, and I even played it, but why I don't like it is simply the airlines have been rocketing. I think this is almost up 100% since the end of the year. So there's already a lot of premium, but that type of earnings that they came out with today, it was actually very, very good. So it's good for the macro outlook. And like I said, it just raises the odds of a soft landing, even though you had some pretty awful Empire manufacturing today. But again, that's all soft data. But the real key right now, we got to see what happens with Japan and PPI, because these have a little bit more weight. But assuming that Japan doesn't scare us too much, or the dollar effect isn't that big, and then the PPI kind of is in line with everything, well, everybody is going to eat up these earnings. And now that we had real good earnings after the bad bank earnings, I mean, it's going to get people excited, at least until we get some negative ones. Because like I said earlier, a lot of people are still thinking you're going to get earnings surprises to the downside. Last quarter, believe it or not, third quarter, fourth quarter, it was one of the worst in terms of amount of companies that surprised to the downside. So maybe there's a lot of sandbags out there, or maybe it's going to get a lot worse. So we'll see what happens, but keep your eyes out for that. We're going to juggle earnings and data tomorrow. And then finally, man, this is how I feel about the market, and I know a lot of people agree with this. It's very simple. Good earnings will keep the party going. Assuming PPI doesn't make everybody vomit and it's really, really bad, assuming the dollar doesn't shoot up 4% tomorrow because of what they do in Japan, or Japan creates a situation that hurts global equities, really it's going to come back down to either a macro global event or good earnings. And if you have good earnings, the party will keep going. Bad earnings will stop it. And what do I mean by that is, quite frankly, even though this has been a very broad rally, the best start to the year since 1988 for every asset all across the globe, take a look, man. We're back at a level we've been chilling at since November 10th. This really isn't that exciting. This is the party just getting started. So if it really is going to be good, you haven't seen anything yet. We got to get to like 415 and even 430. Remember, that's where you were at with August. So there's actually a decent amount of room. 430, I think that would be another 10% on the SPY. So there's a lot that we could go from here. Otherwise, if the earnings are bad, again, Netflix on Thursday, whatever happens with Japan and all of that, well, then maybe the party will end before it even started, even though this was a nice rally. So keep that in mind, but otherwise, you got to wait 2 weeks to make up your mind. The idea is we need to see more of the bigger earnings, see if there's any big surprises, see if there's anything surprising out of the macro front or central banks, whether it be Japan or even Powell in about 2 or 3 weeks. But this seems to be the word on the street. And what I mean by this is a lot of analysts, a lot of people were getting bullish, and there is like half of the market is like, yeah, this is good. We got to buy it. Now the other half today is talking, well, no, it's just short covering. Again, the most accurate analyst, Michael Wilson of last year, he's even saying, nah, ain't nothing changed. So we're going to see how this plays out, but I really think now you're going to get a lot of activity. These are the events we waited for, but make sure you are cautious before making up your mind just yet. And I don't know, what would 2 or 3 weeks kill you if you got to wait? But that's how I'm feeling here. Other than that, though, we're going to have a lot of excitement tonight. We're going to have way more with the earnings. And before you know it, man, the big tech starts rolling out and things are about to get crazy. But Let us get into the plays. So, right off the bat, I got a couple of different plays. We'll go over the plays that I made today. I made a little bit, and I'm even holding one from overnight, but the first one I got to start with AAL, American Airlines. This is a sympathy to United, and really after just seeing a killer report out of United, and now it seems like energy might benefit those airlines a lot more. AAL, they moved up like all of the other airlines, which I'm worried about, but looking at the daily premium, they had a lot less than United Airlines. So I did pick up United shares after hours, only 50 of them, but then I grabbed 100 shares of United Airlines. I don't know what price it was at, actually. I got 100 at $17.39, so a little bit lower, but we'll see. It's going to be risky, but overall, I just like the idea of airlines doing good, and if we have any continuation and people are feeling good, I think these ones can go up a lot. And then even if you go look at United or AAL, they still got a pretty decent premium compared to UAL, or they have a lot more to gain, relatively speaking, but airlines have been kind of watered down a little bit. So keep your eyes out for those. That is play number one. Then play number two, baby. Tesla. He came back today. And really what we've seen over the last couple of days, the most shorted stocks, they have been fully squeezed. Even today when we didn't do much, the most shorted stocks, that Goldman basket, they went up about 1.6, 1.8% today. And I've noticed Tesla's usually on one of those most shorted lists, but it hasn't been moving the same over the last couple of weeks. But after today now, it's reaching a monthly high. And the thing about 135, it's a very interesting spot, as I think a lot of people shorted it. And a lot of people like myself, they went long here because this was kind of one of those multi-year lows, or at least from like 2021 or something like that. But I think it's going to get interesting, and we had that big dip from this price. So really, I'm just waiting for the fireworks. I think either people are going to start getting squeezed, or the people who bought in, they're going to try to use this to get out of this stock, and then we kind of see it get clapped again. Remember, I believe this was around the time they had the stock split. So we're going to find out, but it's pretty good. They actually even held up 7.5% today. I think there was some news after hours, but really it's all about getting through those levels. 135 will open up the door to 140, and then 160 is where like things really started to get crazy. But after seeing Tesla, I don't know, 100 to 160, I mean, maybe, I don't know, but we'll see what happens. But that is going to be play number two. I'm still holding those. And then finally, I really like this play. Procter & Gamble. They have earnings pre-market Thursday, so we're going to get to trade all day tomorrow. That is going to be Wednesday, and then in the morning on Thursday, they report, and I want to watch for either an earnings run-up or run-down, but it's not even really about that. I just think they are at a very, very pivotal level, and what I mean by that is that they could go either direction from here. You could kind of see how they've led up. They've kind of been pinned here, but when you start bringing out the chart a little bit, you'll see they're like on the cusp of holding some of the 2022 upside, or they're really about to get to that level here at the end of 2020 leading into 2021. So I really think they're either going to shoot up towards all-time highs, or they're going to start getting back here and start even giving up some of the premium that they had. So maybe it could even be a good long-term pick if it really, really dumps. But I think this one could be big. I don't know how it will move again, like I'm saying, for those pre-earnings run-ups, because it's kind of moved down, but it's really kind of stayed in this range. So a breakdown or a breakout would be really good, but really post earnings on this one, I think it will be good. So simply do not forget about them. But those are the main plays as far as everything else. Now let's see what we did today. I think you can see, I don't need to zoom in, but I started this morning with THC, not like weed, but like the stock. I grabbed 100 shares at 52.28. There was news. I don't think it was Elliott. Somebody grabbed a stake. They reported it in one of their updates, and the stock was already up. And even if you looked at their chart, they were holding good. Just in general, they've had a recovery. They're back to their earnings level. Besides kind of the second half of the year, they've held their premium pretty good. So I thought it was decent, healthcare related. So underperformer even over the last week or so. I thought it could be good, but as far as healthcare, they did a lot better than most. But I grabbed 100 shares. I ended up selling out just under 3 cents below $1. Got like $96 profit. Flipped that one out, but maybe I might want to double dip. We'll see. And then I bought 25 shares of Goldman at 35 or 352.40 to 36. Again, they had earnings in the morning and they got pummeled. They absolutely did awful. And if you remember, we played Wells Fargo. We bought the dip at like 5-6%. Yeah, it didn't really work. I got in around here, sold off even harder, jumped back up, and then kind of ended just below where we were at. But I only did 25 shares, so even at the low, I think $8 per share cost me like $200. We came back to break even, and then now I think I'm holding it down 60, but I'm still in those, hoping to flip out. And then UAL, 50 shares at 53.25 after hours, and then 100 shares at AAL at 17.39 after hours. Hopefully we get a nice post-earnings reaction and they carry the way, unless Japan or the data gets in the way. But they might even do their own thing too. Hopefully they get that earnings effect. But those were the only other plays as far as everything else. Here's the ES, back down $1,600 again. I think I was like $500 down at one point today, but that's the upside. Here's the downside with the MNQs and NQs. The bonds did not do what I wanted them to do there, so they're still kind of lagging even though the ES is there. But relatively speaking, nothing has changed too much on these. There's that Goldman down 64, and so I'm going to try to flip out of this one tomorrow and hold on to that Meta. I'm still holding this, but remember, earnings is in 2 weeks. If we could get out before then, that's what I'm going to be doing. But right now, it's kind of in a weird middle, down $3 per share. Look at Tesla, bro. It's back up. We were down $12,000, so we're like 1 or 2 days away if it keeps going up like this. So I'm still riding out, you know, the vibes with it, and then UAL, and we also have the AAL, and then beyond that, man, it's simple. YCL, we talked about this. I gave you guys the update on whether or not you wanted to go into Japan, and remember, I still do have my Japanese yen play, so that one's not up there, but still got some decent gains. But like I'm saying, depending on what happens, you could trade the futures at night if you really, really want to. Otherwise, let's see what happens. Let's see the data. And now as we get more information, it might be a good opportunity to decide, hey, should we buy the dip if it goes down? Should we add to it if it goes up? Or is it time to say we're done with it until things settle down? But realistically, after the event today with Japan, I think it'll be a great opportunity to start really rebuilding a position or deciding to kind of add to it and ride with it. So if you're not taking the gamble ahead of time, I don't think you're missing out on too much. So we'll see what happens. Still holding every other play, getting clapped on Boeing. Boeing came back a little bit, but I know even LMT hurt me. I'm still in that HQD and Qualigen. Qualigen was down a lot less earlier, but still riding out those smaller plays and then coming back up on shares. There's ETH ripping my face off. And I think that's pretty much it. But we're going to see the next 2 weeks, the next earnings in PAL. I'm sure we'll see where things are at. And then from there, we will really start moving these positions. So I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure Hydrate Healthy ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. I need you to remember, baby, the thing trying to stop you from getting to your goals, it is not lazy nor complacent. So why would you be, baby? Don't forget, this is the third week of the year, but keep grinding and grind hard, at the very least consistency. But Chad, don't be mindless, and you gotta ride through. This is just the beginning, but stay focused and you will get what you deserve. You'll reap what you sow, baby. But it's game time. We got more events, and I'm telling you, the best time of the year is about to start with earnings. And Chad, you're prepared. Control that budget. And again, without 10%, we ain't even talking. We ain't even talking, baby, but it's game time. I'll see you in the morning, Chad. Drink that water. Stay. You already know. You ready? You ready? Beast mode. Outlet. Defense, baby. Free throws. It's Horna.